Hi there. So this is going to be the first vlog really about this week's topic, which is how you feel about the word diabulimia. And actually I have to say that I really have an issue with it. I know that a lot of people have picked up on the term, and that's why we try and use it around the site. On all of our forums, because it is something that a lot of our members identify with. But I think personally anything that's made up by the media and ran with, it can't necessarily be a good thing. And I also think that it's a very inconsistent term, and it's something that can confuse people because, number one, there's a lot of reasons someone wouldn't take their insulin. That doesn't necessarily mean that they've got an eating disorder. There's also so many sort of other factors involved with diabetes and insulin that just sort of meshing bulimia and diabetes together, it seems to me really crude. And I also think it's slightly arbitrary. I mean, why diabulimia? Why not diarexia? I mean, you could argue that you're starving yourself of insulin, so it's closer to what you do in anorexia, than purging the sugar, which is bulimia. And I just think that the academic term EDDMT1, which is eating disorders and diabetes mellitus type 1, I mean, it's a mouthful, but it is an umbrella term, and it kind of explains to me that there's this huge spectrum of disordered eating specific to diabetes. And it's a really nice umbrella term for that, that you could fit in anything really that's to do with diabetes and disordered eating underneath that, whereas diabulimia, it seems very specific. And I've had people say to me, I can't be diabulimic because I don't throw up, which is completely not the point of diabulimia anyway. So I think it is definitely a problematic term, and it's one that I'm personally not comfortable with, because I think it comes with just the sound of the word, it comes with a lot of misconceptions already, and trying to sort of take that out to health professionals is very difficult. And I know health professionals as well who are like, well, what on earth do we call this? Because there isn't an official term, it's not officially recognised. There's a thing in the ICD-10, which is the diagnostic manual for Europe, that one line under bulimia that says if you're a diabetic and not taking your insulin, then you're actually bulimic. That's what the description is. But because that's in the ICD-10 and not the DSM, which of course is the much more quoted and well used, and because it's not in there, it doesn't seem to matter. And even then, to have one sentence on what this is, I think is pretty ridiculous. But it is under the bulimia tagline for the ICD-10, so maybe diabulimia isn't such a bad thing. But I don't know, I think personally for me it's a term that I've never felt comfortable with. Like when I was anorexic, and when I was bulimic, I was bulimic. There was very sort of specific behavioural patterns and thought patterns that I could completely associate with the actual psychiatric terms. But with diabulimia, I've never really felt like I could say I was a diabulimic, because to me it's way too arbitrary. There's not, again, because it's been made up by the media and not by psychiatrists, there isn't this sort of body of work behind the term. And I think maybe, DWED is extremely academically led, and because I've always thought that, we have to be, if we're going into meetings with psychiatrists and doctors, then we need to know our stuff academically. And EDDMT1, to me, I much prefer the term for what it actually stands for, but then how can you say, I'm not an EDDTM1ic, it doesn't give you the identity, I suppose, that being able to say I am diabulimic does. So I think it's a loaded term, and maybe perhaps if the medical community actually got behind it, put some proper research into it, gave it, screenings and diagnostics, and so that there was actually, okay, well, if you meet this criteria X times a week, then you are diabulimic, because that's how it works for anorexia and bulimia. But yeah, I suppose for me the term is difficult, and it's one that I've never been particularly comfortable with. But then I can also understand that actually being able to say, this is what I am, this is what I have, for some people it's definitely better than nothing. I mean, that's the other thing, is as much as I don't like the term, it is a relevant term to us and only to us. So I don't know, what do you think? I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. So as always, you can either upload a video and we'll put it on the info channel on YouTube, or you can email us, info@dwed.org.uk, and yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what the conversation actually turns out to look like, and anything that you do say, well, we will use that to inform our work going forward. So until next time, take care of yourself. Bye.